As a person living in this culture, I have to encounter the ways in which I'm imprisoned by my perceived limitations. I encounter that all the time. Some days you wake up and you feel an unfinished conversation that's boggling your mind, and you drive around in the city with that, and you go to your office and it's still playing itself out, basically imprisoning you. Somebody says good morning and you say, and you're not really present to it. It happens, even emotional processes, we get stuck in that, and it's holding us back from recognizing what a beautiful day. Wow, look how green Oregon is with all this rain. To be delighted by that instead of contracted around the story of my own suffering, the story of my limitations, or the story of how life could be different if only fill in the blank. That story is pervasive in our culture.
One of the things that struck me about the whole living yoga, when I was reading up more about it, was Sarah Joy was talking about the prisons, the external prisons that people live in, but also the internal prisons that we force ourselves into. One of the things that I felt from being with the elephants, because most of the elephants in Thailand are living within centers that are used in tourism these days. They are needing to be chained at night so they don't wander off, because there's not the wildlands for them to live on. It is incredibly awful to see an elephant in chains. It just made me so sad. But one of the things I felt from being with them was seeing these elephants live in chains, and to see them continue to be their elephant self. And then realizing and sort of having it mirror back to we as humans, our internal chains that we so gladly accept and let ourselves be taken away from our humanness. It's almost like we let them override what we know to be natural and what we know to be the way we should be living.
And I sense that the remedy would really be recognizing who we are at our essence. I use that phrase a lot, but it's knowing something about yourself that isn't just your perceived limitations. Like, I am this body, I am this job, I am this house, I am this relationship to my dog, I am this woman, I am this 36-year-old woman. Those are labels that we live in, but who we are, that stream that's coming through us, is much larger than that. In my experience, to the extent that one part of a culture holds more power than any other, we are at risk. We are unstable. Like a yoga pose, if one part of the pose is holding more responsibility or more power than another, the body is at risk of getting injured. When I see in our culture those people who live in these institutions, the broken people, as you said, that we're teaching, I sense that if we could turn to that brokenness in ourselves, that many of us are actually running away from, if we could turn to that in our own hearts, our bodies, our lives, we would find great strength in healing those wounds.
I'm going to do a song that I used to do with my band Rumors of the Big Wave, and it's called Nightmare. And to introduce it, I want to give a quote by a friend of mine, teacher, writer, Joanna Macy, who says, "When we open ourselves up to the pain of our world, we discover our interconnectedness to the web of life. This is the gift of dark and dangerous times. We find again our mutual belonging."
If we could even, radically step up to the plate and ask, why is America so egocentric? And ask that question. We ask it, in the yoga world, oh, the ego this, the ego that, and it gets tossed around like another buzzword. But to really ask the question about our egocentrism as a population, that could radically change how we start relating to the global community. In our culture, if we ask, this percentage over here has a lot of power, money, wealth, they're living high on the hog, and down here, living on $6 a day. This imbalance, it places threat into the community, because the haves and the have-nots will never see each other as equals. Potentially some will wake up to it, and that's a small percentage. But until we see through each other's eyes the life that could be lived, we're going to keep that imbalance going.